So, what is your name?
Jameson Lee Guerrero.
So tell me about where you come from. Where were you born?
I was born in what we like to call the RGV. It's kind of by the border of Mexico. It's a little town called Harlingen, Texas. I was born there, and my mother moved me from there when I was, I would say, about a year old. I came to San Antonio, and I was here until I would say about 6 years old. And then at 6, she had to give me up to my grandparents because she couldn't actually take me to school or anything. And it was just getting hard for her as a single mother to take care of me and do all that stuff. So my grandparents took me, and I went back to Harlingen, Texas, and I was there until my sophomore year. And then I came back to San Antonio, finished up my junior and senior year. And since then, I've not been anywhere permanently. I've been in the Navy, just traveling.
Okay, awesome. So tell me about how your childhood was growing up.
My childhood was great. I have mixed emotions about it because I think it was a great childhood, but at the same time, there were certain things where not a lot of children go through, or maybe they do, I don't know. But I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth, but I had fun. I have a big family, and we were always together for every single holiday. And my mother tried to do anything in her power to make sure that I had a good time, and she was always I couldn't say I didn't like something before trying it. So I would say my childhood had its ups and downs, but overall I think my childhood was pretty good.
Nice. Are you an only child? Do you have any brothers and sisters?
I am an only child. My stepfather had 2 kids with another woman after my mother passed, so I do consider them my brother and sister, but they're a year old and 2, so I haven't seen them since I haven't seen my brother at all, but my little sister, I saw her maybe a couple of times.
Nice. And how were you as a child?
How was I as a child? I think that I thought I was Elvis Presley. I would sing in front of the mirror and do my hair every different way to look like him. I loved playing outside. I was the typical child where playing outside all day until the street lights came on. And I loved playing sports. I begged and begged for them to put me in football, and they did. And then I got my ass crushed, but I still had a good time. And my child, that I was a go-getter, just like how I am in my adulthood. I never wanted somebody to beat me at anything. I was always competitive. I was always goofy, making people laugh. Very sweet, very loving. I would give my shirt off my back to give to somebody else.
Nice. So, at what age did you notice you were different?
I guess when I could start forming my own thoughts, because I would say maybe about 4 or 5. I knew I was different when I wanted just to hang out with the guys and be their best friend, but I wanted my first kiss to be with a girl. And I always looked at my teachers and thought, she's pretty, I like her, so I knew I was different. There was nothing about me that was feminine.
At what age did you understand what, first of all, I don't know if you got to say this, but what do you identify yourself as now?
I identify as a male, and I am transgender.
Awesome. And when did you first come out to your family?
I wouldn't say so. In my past life, when I came out as lesbian, I wouldn't say that I came out. I would say that I was figured out because my I was having an encounter with a girl in my room, and my mother came in and caught me, and she questioned me about it, and I was so afraid because of the way she was questioning me. She wasn't. She wasn't very calm about the situation. She didn't understand. So I tried to lie about it. And then eventually I stopped lying. I just told them that, I'm a lesbian. And because I had already knew before they caught me for many years. And when I was caught, I guess you could kind of say I'm glad I got caught. Because I don't know if I would have had the strength to come out.
So coming out at that time as a lesbian, how did that affect your relationship with your mom or your family?
I don't think it really messed up anything. My mother was more. She grew up in the time, and my grandmother too, because I think they were the ones that are probably the hardest on me. They grew up in the time where gay people, lesbians or whatever, mostly gay men were being dragged by trucks, being killed, in that time. Not that it's not happening today, but, it was just a different time that they grew up in. So they thought that my life was going to be like that, where I wasn't going to grow up with opportunity to grow as a person.
What, coming out of there, being discovered at a young age as a lesbian, what strengths did it give you throughout your middle school, through your high school?
I wouldn't say that I didn't start getting strong, honestly. I would say up until I started transitioning to a male. And the reason why I say that is because I said this also in a previous interview where I felt as though I wasn't a strong person in my past life. So I was a cheater. I was, and what I mean by that is I cheated on women. I didn't care about, I kind of didn't care about other people's, how do I put this into words? I don't think I was that great of a person. I don't think that I had it all together. There was a lot of things that I was battling with, and it just kind of, I just don't think that person growing up was all that great.
Okay. So during growing up, discovering that, at what age did you feel that you were more than just a lesbian?
I figured that out. Well, when I was little, even though I liked girls and all this stuff, I knew something was way more different about me because I would always tell people, "Oh, my name is John," as a kid, and I always wanted to wear boy clothes. I always wanted to be one of the boys. I wanted to grow up and be a man. But my body, the way my body was developing was not the way I was feeling. So I knew very early on, but I didn't understand it because I didn't see many people like me. So I didn't understand that until I would say about recently, meeting other people like me and seeing them transition. I was like, they're not scared. They're not afraid to come out and say who they really are. Why am I afraid? But I was married at the time, and I was more afraid of losing my wife at the time than transitioning. So I kind of put that on the back burner. But once we divorced or separated at the time, I said I wasn't gonna stop who I wanted to be for another person again. So I transitioned, and that was in 2019.
Is there someone right now that in your life that you wish that could see you as the man you have become now?
My mother. Oh yeah, hands down.
Also, um, how do you feel about society now of how far the LGBT community has come?
I think it's come a long way. I mean, before, because I grew up, a lot of my family are, Democrats, but my stepfather that I grew up with is a major conservative Republican. So I kind of feel like I went to the beat of his drum of listening to him. Not that I had the same views, but I wasn't so much about maybe our communities kind of putting my best foot forward with the whole community and fighting for the community and actually using my voice because of I had a stepdad that wasn't big on that. And he loved me and supported me, but it was just not something that I did. But I would say now, just seeing now, doing my research and seeing how far the community has come, it's amazing. And we still got a long way. That's what I do know. Just because we have made it this far, that doesn't mean that we don't have a long way to go.
So for people out there who don't understand the trans community or the LGBT community, a lot of them think that we go through a trauma, sexual abuse, growing up, and they think that's what makes us who we are now. What do you have to say to people who think that we become trans women, trans men, or any part of LGBT because something traumatic like that has happened to us?
So I think, and I've been abused as a child, but that is not the reason why I felt the way I felt, or why I feel the way I feel. That happened to me, and that's just a misfortune that happened to me. That's the part of my childhood that, many kids go through. But some kids, get abused as children and still grow up to, be a heterosexual, relationship. That does not define me and make me a trans man.
So, was there a moment in your life that you've gone through a dark moment? Have you gone through a dark moment in your life?
I have, twice. When I lost my mother in 2013, I completely lost myself as a person. I don't think I could love anybody, and I didn't think anybody could love me. And I think I kind of still struggle with that. Not so much of loving anybody, but I think also nobody could love me like my mother loved me. But I do have a great fiance who does love me, and she does show it, and but missing that mother's love is such a hard thing, especially for a man, because my mother was, to me, kind of like my mom and my dad, because I guess the only way I could describe her is if people that knew her. She was just such a great woman, but that was a traumatic time, especially falling into, I kind of became an alcoholic, very depressed. I didn't want to live, and I would just say my other time that I felt at my lowest was when I started to go, when my ex-wife asked for a divorce. At first I just thought to myself that I was a failure, because you think that when you found somebody and you marry somebody, this is the person you're going to be with for the rest of your life, but it wasn't like that. And now if I could go back to the time that we separated, I would have told myself just to snap out of it. because now I'm so glad that that ended, because now I could live my life and my truth without feeling like somebody wouldn't support me.
Awesome. What is one character that you feel that you inherited from your mother that makes you the man you are today?
That's a good question. I would say my how I love. I love very, very hard, and my mother loved very, very hard. And when she loved you, she loved you, and when she hated you, she hated you. And I would say, I try not to carry around hate for anybody, but I do, I do love very, very hard, and I got that from her.
If there was one thing, if you had that one phone call to make to your mother right now, what would it be?
Whew. I would tell her that it wasn't her fault. That she did everything that she could as a mother, and for her not to be upset about me being a trans man, because I think that I'm a better son than I ever was as a daughter. And I would just tell her that I dedicate all my success to her, because without her, I don't think I would be the person I am today.
So what message do you have for the younger generations, since we are the future pioneers of our generation and for many generations to come? What is one message you would like to give to your younger audience? You have followers. What message would you give them?
Don't be afraid. Do not let anybody beat you down as a person or tell you that you're not worthy. And don't even let your parents, or if you have unsupportive family members or unsupportive friends, don't let them hold you back from you, because you have a life to live, and to live your life is very, very important. You only get one. That would be my message to the youth.
And two more final questions. What can people do to be more involved within our community? What would you want them to do?
To listen and to stop passing judgment on people that they don't know. I think that's one of the downfalls, or people think that we're possessed by the devil, or we are crazy, or we're sick, but we're just regular people. I could meet somebody right now that probably doesn't like trans people, and carry on a conversation with them, and if I were to tell them, hey, I'm transgender, I don't know if they would hate me then, or what, or maybe change their mind. But why does it have to get that far? Why can't we just educate ourselves?
Okay, actually I have two more questions.
Okay.
I think this is really good. I can always edit this. So, I know since there has been a lot of suicidal to being kids, LGBT, what message would you give to those children?
Oh man. I would say life is way better than putting yourself in the dirt. I've struggled with suicide many a times, especially, I would say, there was a time recently where I was extremely depressed, but I fought through it, and I wanted to be here.
to you?
Pride means to not be afraid of those who are afraid of you, to stand up for what you believe in, to have the courage to fight through the people that may make fun of you, may put you down, to stand up for your right to love, to marry, to use the restroom that you want to use, to have the name that you want. You know, pride to me means many things, but I would say that, you know, that's the main keys to me, and the pride to love every single person, you know, even if they don't love you.
And final question. How would you like to be remembered?
How would I like to be remembered? That's a good question. I would like to be remembered as the guy that was a good time. He loved hard. He lived the life that he was finally supposed to live. And I knew that it wasn't too late for me. I died happy.
Well, I appreciate it so much. I personally got to know you growing up.
Yeah.
And I am so happy to see you the man that you have become and always were meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I thank you so much. You being true to yourself and showing other people out there that it's okay to be yourself. That don't be afraid. Even the amazing thing about our community is that we get to choose our own family. When people shut us down, there is a big community out there that will support us. We get to, me and you are not blood related, but you are my brother. And we will always be family, no matter how many thousands of miles we are. You may be in Louisiana, traveling the world, I'm in Texas, and I thank you. Thank you for this interview. It's something that a lot of people out there are struggling, thinking that they're alone in this world. And
They're
to
not
know
alone.
that they're not the only trans man, trans women, or any part of LGBT. So thank you so much for that, James.
Thank you, Rain, for having me.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Is there any final words you would like to say before we sign off?
Happy Pride Month.
Awesome.